Hello and welcome to the first call from the Village of Orland Park. This is Orland Park Trustee Jim Dodge, and on behalf of Mayor McLaughlin, the Board of Trustees, and the Village staff, we're very pleased to welcome you to this first ever live telephone town hall meeting in progress. We've got more than a few people joining us, so we'll just get started here officially in a couple of minutes, so give us a second. All right, let's get rolling. Again, this is Orland Park Trustee Jim Dodge. I'm very pleased to be joined by Mayor Dan McLaughlin, and on behalf of the entire Village Board, thank you for joining us. This is our first ever live telephone town hall in progress now. This is part of our ongoing program to be as open as possible and start a two-way dialogue, both in person when you come to a meeting or you reach out to the Village Board, online, and now with these types of phone calls. We're going to learn a great deal tonight, so we're looking forward to this. And as we go through this, you can ask questions of the mayor directly. This is a live town hall call. And then we'll have a few follow-on survey questions for you. So when we get to that part of the call, please press 0 on your phone to ask that question live, and then stay on your line to join this discussion. So tonight we're going to cover three major topics: what's going on with LaGrange Road and overall with the Village's road improvement program. We're also going to spend some time updating you on Village finances, and then we'll also spend a little bit of time on public safety. So with that, I'd like to formally introduce Mayor Dan McLaughlin. Dan?
Thanks, Jim. You know, this is kind of exciting. We've never done this before, obviously. We have done other things like community-wide surveys and different things to try and stay in touch with the public, just to make sure we know what everybody's thinking and some of the concerns they have. You mentioned that they can get in line to ask questions, but I also would say that, or would add that anybody that just has comments to make as well. We're looking for your comments and input as well as any questions you might have. So with that, I'd like to actually start a little bit on LaGrange Road.
By the way, thank you. We've already got some questions flowing in, so we appreciate that. So Dan, let's start talking about LaGrange Road, then we'll take some of these questions.
All right. Well, look, I'm gonna say this. I can't go anywhere that isn't probably the main topic right now. LaGrange Road is a huge project. It's a $100 million project. The Village is putting $15 million into this project as well to make sure that it's the kind of road that we all expect to see in Orland Park, and something that that makes the project that much nicer. But we've been lobbying for LaGrange Road to be improved for over 20 years. So as much as an inconvenience as it is right now, it's a long-needed project, and when it's done, it'll be great for traffic flow. It'll look good and solve a lot of the problems we've been dealing with for years on traffic. I will also add that while this project started in March 2014, the initial completion date was supposed to be somewhere around the end of this year. It is behind. I don't think that's going to be a surprise for anybody to hear. But we do expect most of the LaGrange Road, or at least substantial completion, by about March of next year. So that's a positive. Some of the sidewalks, landscaping, and that might go on a little longer, but the road work should be substantially completed by March of next year. But here's the one point I want to make that a lot of people maybe kind of forget about. We appreciate the fact that everybody's been so patient. LaGrange Road, this big project may have only started in March last year, but before that, we did the intersection of 143rd and LaGrange Road, which took over a year to do. That was a separate project. And before that, we did the 159th and LaGrange Road intersection as a separate project. So when you take those two projects along with the $100 million LaGrange Road widening, you're talking about 3 years or more that LaGrange Road has some kind of construction. So we appreciate everybody's concerns and appreciate everybody being patient.
Dan, let me ask you a couple of quick questions. So clearly people are asking, when is it going to be done? When's it going to be finished? So let's answer that question specifically.
Well, let me break it up into sections. So from 143rd Street north to 131st Street, where Carl Sandburg is, that area should be done substantially completed by the end of February 2016. The section between 143rd and 159th should be completed around the end of June 2016. But the south end from 159 south to I-80 will be done by the beginning of December this year. So that one section should be done by the end of this year, the others the early part of next year.
Okay. So should we take some live questions?
Sure.
Okay. All right, let's take a few live questions. Thomas, Council, go ahead. Thomas, are you there?
Hi, Mayor. I just wanted to, my wife actually wants to know when Mariano's will be completed.
Mariano's, and we're excited about that too. We're looking forward to that opening up somewhere in February of next year. So we're looking forward to that. Everybody's been waiting for that, and I don't think it's a surprise to the people on the north side of town that there isn't a lot of grocery shopping close by. So it'll be a great addition.
Great. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Do we want to take Donna? Hang on for just 1 second here.
Yeah, this is a new system to us.
Yeah, so be patient. So we're Donna Bolera. Would you like to ask a question?
Donna. Yes,
Go ahead.
this is Donna. Yes, I was originally going to ask when it was going to be finished, but he did answer that. My other question is, why, when the construction workers seem to be out there at certain times and then all of a sudden there's nobody, they disappear?
Yeah, there are.
And all the, how does that happen? I mean,
yeah, there are so many factors in that. Some of it is some particular work that you and I would like to see being done can't be done until some other preliminary work is done. And there's another factor is we sat down with IDOT and the contractor before this project started, and we were pretty specific with them on working around our schedule. We wanted to try and keep 2 lanes of traffic open in each direction as much as possible, and we wanted to try and stay away from certain lane closures during rush hours, and especially, as Christmas shopping comes up after Thanksgiving. We've worked with them on a pretty tight schedule, and they're doing their best to follow what we are asking them to do, in addition to all the preliminary work that they need to do before the next step can be taken. So I agree with you. I was on vacation for the last couple of weeks. I came back, and it doesn't seem like a whole lot's been done in the 2 weeks I've been back, but as I talked to our staff, I find out how much preliminary work is done, say on the cross streets and that kind of thing.
okay.
Thanks for calling.
Okay. Do you want to take the question on should we take a question on taxes, Dan?
Sure.
Okay, so hang on. DeSanka, do you want to ask a quick question?
I was asking earlier, I'm a senior citizen, and like I told the lady before, I was trying for the last 5 years to get senior citizen freeze. Well, I had my brother living. I brought him because he was homeless in Florida. He passed away. My sister makes only $1,100. She's living with me because she cannot afford anywhere. And they're telling me, well, you're making $55,000. Yeah, it looks good on the paper, $55,000. But I'm not getting their money. They got their own bills to pay. So I don't think senior citizen, I think I should be what I make on, not to include my sisters.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Are you referring to real estate taxes or income taxes?
No, real estate taxes.
Well, real estate taxes in Orland Park, there's, as you probably know, there's numerous areas on your real estate tax bill that you're paying to different entities: Cook County, mosquito abatement, school district, three or four different school districts, the village, the township. So there's several areas. The only one that the village board and myself really can control to any degree is the village's portion of your tax bill, and that's about 7% of your tax bill. So I think we've done a pretty good job of keeping our taxes down. And 10 of the last 12 or 13 years, we've also rebated some or all of the village's portion of the taxes. So I sympathize with you. I wish there was more we could do, but I think we've kept the village's portion that we control to a pretty reasonable amount.
Okay. All right. So Dan, let's go to some questions, or let's talk briefly about our broader road improvement projects. So we've got some questions flown in around LaGrange, so we'll continue to talk about those. But also, Dan and I both wanted to thank everybody for joining. We've got close to 2,200 folks that have joined us on this call, so we very much appreciate the ability to hear from you. So it's great to hear. So Dan, let's touch base on some of the other things we're working on in our road improvement project.
Well, every year we've done a substantial amount of neighborhood street improvements where we take a subdivision that our staff has determined after a lot of study, kind of a queue for neighborhoods to be improved, street improvements to be made. And every year we put somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 million into that. But this year it tops $9 million, the amount of money we're putting into neighborhood street improvement, because we know that there's a lot of neighborhoods that haven't been done in a while and are starting to show some wear and tear. Of course, we're limited in not only money but logistics and how much we can get done in a particular year.
All right. So Dan, we have a specific question. So we'll call on Susan to ask a specific question here. Susan, go ahead. Susan, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay. I'm calling about the subject you were just talking about, the side streets being taken care of. It just seems to me that there are a lot of potholes, and a lot of the streets are in really bad condition. Now, one then in particular that I'm thinking of is Wheeler Drive. All the way from 94th Avenue to Harlem, it's like driving an obstacle course. I have called about the potholes. They've come out, they throw some cinders in the holes. It lasts for a little while, and then pretty soon, because of the traffic and people traveling over these so-called potholes, the cinders disappear, and you're driving an obstacle course again. Now, that is really one of the main streets in Orland. And then some of the side streets branching off from that are in bad condition. So I'm just wondering, are there any plans for completely resurfacing Wheeler Drive?
You know, I'm going to ask John Ingram, who's our department head in charge of roads, and I asked him to be here tonight because we were going to concentrate on roads. I'd ask John to let you know a little bit about where that's at.
Hi, Susan.
Okay.
Thanks for the question. One of the things that you mentioned was what you called cinders. That's actually a Durapatcher. It's an innovative process that the village has been using to fill potholes. And while we have had a few minor issues with it, it has been extremely successful in providing a permanent repair to potholes. As far as the formal repaving of Wheeler Drive, the village has just initiated a 5-year program. I don't know specifically which section you're talking about. Wheeler Drive is generally done in pieces, but I'm not sure where it's at in the 5-year program right now.
I will say that we have $3 million in this year's budget just for maintenance of roads, which includes patching, but $6 million for reconstruction, where we take a street from curb to curb and rebuild it. So $6 million sounds like a lot, and it is a lot more than we have had in our budgets in the last several years, but it still only buys you so much, and we're trying to keep up with it and trying to get the worst streets done first.
How do you make your decision as to which street you're going to do?
Well, John, you want to talk
Sure.
about our study?
Yeah. 2 years ago, the village initiated a study. It was done by ARA, Applied Research Associates. What they did is they went through and they evaluated every street. And in 2016, we're anticipating doing that study again. As part of that, they help us determine which streets are our priority. They assign a condition index to that street that tells us where it should be placed within that 5-year plan or beyond.
Okay. All right. So
I will add too that over the last 20 years, the village has done over $500 million in infrastructure improvements and road work and that kind of thing. So we are certainly addressing it. We're not looking the other way. It's just trying to keep up with it.
All right, so Dan,
I'm
we
glad
want
to hear that, but it's just, it's an eyesore, and not only that, it's a problem driving over it. I know what type of patching that you do, but it just makes it like a lumpy road. You can't drive over it without hitting into ruts and lumps, and there's some beautiful homes along there, and it's just a mess. For the taxes that the people pay, I think we should have a nicer street.
Well, we will be certainly looking at it and working with you on it, but we also know that there's a safety hazard if there's potholes and people swerving back and forth. So it's certainly a major concern of us, not just Wheeler, but any of the streets in Orland. But we can, if you want, I can get back to you. If you leave your name and phone number after this at 8 o'clock, you can leave a message. I can get back to you with a little more detailed schedule of what Wheeler looks like. But like John said, Wheeler is so long, it'll be done in sections at any rate.
Okay. All right. So, Susan, thanks for the question. So Dan, let's take a question for everybody that's on the call. And what we'd like to do is ask you, what is the single most important issue that Orland Park should address? And so from your phones, and I'll repeat these, press 1 if you think public safety or crime is the most important issue. Press 2 if you think property taxes are the most important. 3 if you think it's economic development. 4 if you think we need more parks and recreational services. And 5 if you think roads, transportation, and traffic congestion are the issues. So let me repeat that. Press 1 if you think it's public safety and crime. 2 if you think it's property taxes. 3 if you think it's economic development. 4 if you think we need more parks and recreational services. And 5 if you think it's roads, transportation, and traffic congestion. So if you could give us your feedback, and in a couple of minutes we'll let you know what everyone says. But for the moment, let's take some other questions while everybody's entering our poll. So Dan, one of the questions that came up was around some of the cross streets. So I think we've touched on the major roads like LaGrange and some of the other things we're doing, but we had a question around the 159th, the 167th, 143rd. So why don't we touch on that?
Well, let me say that 163rd and LaGrange posed some problems for us because we tried to keep traffic open in both directions as the center of LaGrange Road was being worked on. It caused some problems, plus the way we did it meant that project, that cross street, was going to take probably 5 to 6 weeks to complete. What our staff worked out with IDOT and the contractor is for future cross streets, like 144th Place, 147th, 149th, 151st, 153rd, 156th, as LaGrange Road is being worked on at those cross intersections, we will have right turns only. So it may seem like a convenience, but by doing it that way, that will be completed in more like 3 to 4 weeks instead of 5 to 6 weeks, and it'll be a lot safer traveling. So those cross streets are being done right now, and we do expect that center lane of LaGrange Road to be completed where the cross streets will be open both directions by Thanksgiving.
Okay. All right. So we have a question from Mike.
Hello.
And Mike, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. So you go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say thanks for you doing this, and you're all doing a great job as far as I'm concerned. I don't care what other people say or whatever. Everybody's got something to complain about.
Mike, you want to stay on for a while?
Anyway, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I don't know if I'm pretty sure it doesn't come under your jurisdiction, but if you're in contact with the Forest Preserve about the walking trail between LaGrange, 104th, 167th, 179th, are they ever going to finish? I mean, the signs are up. It's closed until it's done, and I thought they were almost done at the end of last year, and it's just dragging on.
Yeah, I believe you're talking about the grasslands, right?
Correct.
Yes, that was something the village cooperated with the Forest Preserve District as well as a couple
Army
of
Corps of
Engineer, and there was another group,
Friends of the Forest.
Friends of the Forest. Everybody cooperated on reestablishing a natural Illinois prairie in that area, and there was a lot of debate on even having pass. The village pretty much insisted, along with some other groups, if we're going to make it available to the public at all to enjoy it, we need to have some kind of access. So the paths have been started, and I think in some areas they're completed. That's a forest preserve project.
Right.
And they should all be open by the end of September, the end of this month. So I'm hoping that they're on schedule. Now, the only thing that could slow that down, I guess, would be, bad weather. But the plan is to have those paths done by the end of September.
Well, the paths are all in. I mean, I walk it now. I mean, they don't stop us from walking or using it, anybody in there. But, there are times that they're doing a little work in there. But for the most part, it's a little bit here, a little bit there. And it seems like they're finishing up a little thing here after doing something else somewhere else. So it's just, my thought is it's a trail to be used. We had the whole summer, and you're really not supposed to be on it.
Well, I guess where they're at with that now is just punch list items, meaning.
Oh, right. Oh, I know. Yeah, I see it. They're putting, over the culverts. They're putting little rails by them and everything else. So.
Yeah, they're touching up the landscaping type.
But it's a great
issues.
thing for us to have.
Oh, I think it is. It's beautiful out there.
Yes,
okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for calling.
No problem. Thanks for calling. So for everyone else on the call, if you'd like to ask a question, simply hit 0, and then we'll try and take as many questions as we can. Just a quick note around the results we got from our first question. So we asked, what was the most important issue in your mind? And the choices were crime, property taxes, business development, parks, recreation, roads, and traffic. And the winner, and I'll give you the percentages, roads, traffic, and congestion was the top vote getter, if you will, with 33%. Property taxes was next with 29%, and then public safety, 26%, and then business, economic development, 10%, and then parks and recreation was at 2%. So, from my perspective, that's great for us to hear that kind of feedback from everybody. So we appreciate that. So Dan, let's shift a little bit now to talk around. I think that since property taxes became pretty high, as well as public safety, why don't we shift to public safety for a few minutes, and then let's take a question. Let's talk about public safety, and then we'll take a couple of questions. So,
well, I'm just going to say what I whenever I have the opportunity to say. I think we have the best police department in the state of Illinois, and our police chief Tim McCarthy does an outstanding job. Crime in Orland Park is very low, and crime has gone down even in for the last 3 years in a row. But I will tell you that based on our statistics, the FBI has us as one of the lowest crime rates in the country. So that's a good thing. But the village board has been pretty committed over the years to continually add police as the village has grown. We've encouraged and financially supported community policing programs, additional training for our police. So I think all of that adds up to why we have what I think is the best police department in the state.
Okay.
We recently started, by the way, just want to make one quick comment. Everybody knows Orland Park is a retail center, and there are other communities in the state that are similar in that respect. But I believe we're the only ones that recently started a retail safety officer, where a police officer is dedicated to staying in touch with the managers of every shopping center in the village, as well as individual stores, to try and put a comprehensive safety plan together. And that includes doing safety audits at different businesses to avoid problems that we hear about in other areas and other cities. So I think we're pretty aggressive at going after crime prevention.
Which is important, especially if you're a retail center. So Dan, let's take a question. Cindy Katsinas, are you still there? Cindy?
Yes, I'm here, Jim.
Go ahead. So you want to ask a question for Dan?
I did. I was going to say, what is the Orland Park Police doing to curb crime or prevent crime at retail centers, specifically Orland Square Mall?
Well, the one thing I just mentioned was the retail safety officer has been working closely with Simon Development and the Orland Square's safety people. They've put numerous plans together, including extra patrol. Not sure if you have witnessed, especially at the last couple of holiday seasons, we have had extra police, uniformed and out of uniform, patrolling the mall and working with Simon Development. So there really has been no problems the last couple of Christmas seasons. The crime statistics in general in Orland Square, as in a lot of Orland Park, is mainly retail-based, like retail theft, which is very hard to get a handle on, with a lot of retail theft being employee theft. But the actual statistics for Orland Square are pretty good. So I'm applauding our police department publicly for working so well with Simon and their safety people. But I think we have a pretty good handle on it.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Thank you.
All right, Cindy, we appreciate the question. So for anybody else on the call, if you'd like to ask a question, at the moment we're touching base on public safety issues. Generally, our policing. Press 0 and then let us know what the question is. So do you want to take this one?
I saw a question on since we were just talking about retail. I saw a question. Now I don't see it up on the screen, but there was a question about vacant stores in town. And I would say that our staff has a pretty good handle on that.
Here, we just found the question. So Carolyn, are you still with us?
Hello?
Yep. Carolyn, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, it is. Well, first of all, I want to say thanks for doing this. And, Mayor, I've told you this in person, but I'm going to say it for everybody who's listening. What you offer for special recreations in this village is fantastic. I am so appreciative and so impressed. My question, though, I'm happy to see new construction, new buildings going up, people being employed to do that. I think that's great. However, we have so many empty stores. And is there anything in place to fill those, maybe rather than having so much new construction, or even in addition to, but just to get something in those empty places?
Yeah, let me try to answer that as best I can. First of all, a lot of the vacant stores in Orland Park actually fill up pretty well. Like when Borders went out of business and Whole Foods came in. Offhand, I'm struggling to come up with several examples, but we have a vacancy rate that is under, I believe it's 7%, under 5%, sorry, and compared to some other communities that are retail-based, they're in the 8, 9, 10% range. We think we're pretty good at filling these vacancies up, but the real answer I wanted to give you is if a business or an individual owns a piece of property, it's zoned for commercial, they want to put a commercial use in, as long as they follow all our codes and ordinances, we're obligated to approve their new construction project. So we can't actually say no to new construction until every vacant spot is filled. And also, just business in general, there is always a certain amount of businesses that are coming and going out of business based on for any number of reasons. So there's a couple things in your question that are a little bit out of our control, but I think our staff does a pretty good job, our economic development people, in promoting those vacancies, and I think we fill those up pretty well. So, but there's always going to be some. I don't like to see vacancies at all, so we try and come up with some unique ways of filling those. One last comment on that. If there's a vacant store, it's owned by somebody. What they are asking for price-wise for either rent or sale is out of our control as well. And there are some people or some locations we know of that were asking prices that were out of sight, which means they're going to sit there vacant for a longer period of time. So there's a couple things out of our control, but what we do feel like we have some control on, I think we do a pretty good job filling vacancies as fast as we can.
Okay. All right. So just a quick note that we've got about 37 folks that are in the speaker queue, so certainly be patient with us. And we just want to mention that for anybody who poses a question that we don't get to tonight, we will send in writing an answer within about a week. So our full intention is to make sure that all the questions that are asked will be addressed. And to the extent that we have your contact information, Dan, Mayor McLaughlin will reach out to you directly to make sure that we answer all the questions. So just keep them coming, and we appreciate it.
I'm going to take this opportunity to throw in something real quick that I mention whenever I can over the years. Anybody that would want to get a few neighbors together and call me up to come over, I'd be glad to come to your homes and talk to you in person, answer questions, and discuss ideas. So very interested in doing that. I know that's not always easy to do, but it's another option.
Okay, so Dan, we've got a question here around. We've got a wide range of questions. So we had one that's just came in around some of the flooding issues that are down on Route 6.
Well, there was one there on LaGrange Road.
You want to take the LaGrange Road one?
Well, yeah, that was one of our main topics for tonight, and I would like to answer as many questions as we can about LaGrange Road. But there was a question from Kate. Oh, no. No, there was about the east-west streets.
Yeah. Do we have it, Margie? Yeah. All right, Dawn? Dawn, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much for taking the call.
No problem. Go ahead.
The question that I had was, it's difficult to see by the construction as it is right now, but with so many of the shopping centers on the east and the west side, will there be, designed into the system on LaGrange Road, will there be separate turning lanes to go east and west into the specific shopping center or shopping areas, which would leave the two main lanes open for traffic that is driving north and south?
Yeah, real quick, the LaGrange Road widening project actually will have 3 lanes going in each direction, north and south, and then at the major intersections there will be additional turning lanes. Right now we have 2 lanes in each direction. There will be 3 and the additional turning lanes. But I'm going to add that there are some of the cross streets, like 151st Street. If you're familiar with, as you are heading westbound on 151st Street and come up to LaGrange Road, there'll be a right turn lane there that never was there before. So wherever we are able to, we have worked with IDOT on the design to put as many turning lanes in as possible, not only on LaGrange, but on the side streets feeding into LaGrange. So when this is done, I think everybody will be happy with the way traffic flows and how much capacity will be on LaGrange Road.
Okay. So, Don, thank you. So we're going to take a question that we had around sidewalks on LaGrange. Linda, are you still with us?
Hello.
Hello. Linda, go ahead with your question.
Okay, and thank you for doing this also and making Orland a wonderful place to live. My question was, will there be sidewalks all the way down LaGrange Road, and will they be handicap accessible?
Yes to both questions. We have, the plans include sidewalks or paths on both sides of LaGrange Road, the whole length of LaGrange Road. I'm not sure if you realize that the village board over the years has always put a certain amount of money into the budget for extending trails wherever we can. We would like to make Orland Park as pedestrian as friendly as possible. But in terms of your particular question, both sides of LaGrange Road, the length of LaGrange Road, will have sidewalks and or paths.
Thank you very much.
And they will be handicapped accessible.
Thank you, because I have a son in a wheelchair, so that's great to hear. Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a question around, we've got a couple of questions about a light at 104th and 159th as that gets started. So Dan, why don't we take that one, because that's also just kicking off our 159th Street work. So Michael, are you still with us?
Yeah, hi Merritt. Thanks very much for taking my call, and this is really a nice thing you're doing. It really educates the people of Orland Park, and I really mean it. I'm really learning a lot about the village. I live in Mission Hills, and on 159th and 104th Avenue, I was wondering if there was any kind of a study taken about putting a stoplight there. Around 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, people are trying to turn left off of 104th Avenue on 159th. It's a really bad turn, a lot of traffic. I've seen a lot of near accidents, and I have seen accidents over there. I was just wondering if there's been any kind of study possibly putting any lights in the upcoming future.
The answer is 104th and 159th does have a stoplight planned for that intersection. I would just personal comment. My mother lives right near there. I'm through that intersection or through that area all the time, and it is a terrible intersection, terrible area, especially when it's rush hour. So, but there will be a traffic signal at that intersection.
When will it be? I mean, next year, this year, or upcoming?
The project is scheduled to be completed in August of 2017.
Oh, great. Thanks very much, Mayor. Have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
All right, so we're gonna, Dan, let's shift now towards sort of village finances and sort of what's going on with the economic climate. But before we do that, we'd like to take another brief poll for everybody that's joined us on the call. And so the question is, generally, how would you rate the services you receive from the Village of Orland Park for the taxes that you pay to the village? So press 1 if you think the services you receive are excellent. Press 2 if you think the services provided by the village are okay. 3 if you think the services you receive are fair. And 4 if you think they are poor and not equal the taxes paid to the village. So let me repeat those choices, and again, just enter it on your phone. Press 1 if you think the services you receive are overall excellent. 2 if you think it's okay. 3 if you think they're just fair. And 4 if you think they are poor. And then as we shift into this next topic, we'll tabulate some results, and then we'll come back to you. So Dan, let's spend a minute focusing on what's going on with village finances and economic development, and then we'll take some questions.
Well, excuse me. I think, Jim, I think you and I sitting here tonight can speak for the rest of the board and say that we're proud of the fact that the village has kept our taxes reasonable, and it really works out to where less than 8 cents, almost about 7 cents for every property tax dollar goes to the village. And of that, $34 million over the last 12 or 13 years has been refunded or rebated. So we are definitely proud about balancing our budget every year, keeping the taxes reasonable. I will throw a slight personal comment in here. The state has problems, which everybody knows about. I'm a little concerned about how the state will end up solving their problems. If it's on the backs of the municipalities, we're going to have to address how to handle that. But right now, we're in pretty good shape with balanced budgets, and I think providing quite a bit of services for the village.
All right, so why don't we take a question? So, Marilyn, are you still with us?
I was wondering what is happening with the University of Chicago and what is actually going into the University of Chicago. And by the way, I think I would not want to live in any other place but Orland.
Thanks. We're excited about University of Chicago coming in, not just because it's the University of Chicago, but let me give you a few reasons of why this is so good for the village. First of all, they're providing over 100 solid, good-paying jobs in the building. It's predominantly University of Chicago doctors, so it's there's no hospital beds, but it is doctors' offices. There will be labs, and on the first floor, a pharmacy. But it's only University of Chicago doctors, so this isn't a medical building that's leasing out to numerous different people. So we are realizing, or we will realize, a substantial return on our investment on that property. Over 100 full-time jobs provided. They are sharing in the cost of a parking deck that the village will be building next door to the University of Chicago building that other businesses in the downtown development will be able to use on nights and weekends. So there's a lot of benefits, but one of the bigger benefits is I hear from all our restaurants in town, and we have a lot of good restaurants now. I'm on the board long enough to know when the biggest complaint was that the only restaurants in town were fast food restaurants, but we have quite a few good restaurants in town now, and what I hear from them constantly is there isn't much of a daytime crowd for the restaurants. The University of Chicago will be bringing in thousands of patients every year, which will add to our daytime traffic, which will benefit some of our shopping and our restaurants. So there's a lot of reasons that University of Chicago is good. There's going to be a groundbreaking September 29th, so they're looking to put a shovel in the ground pretty soon, and I believe the completion date should be by November of next year. So they're looking to get going right away.
Okay. So Dan, while we're let's stay up on 143rd and LaGrange. So we've got a question about the development that's going on around there. So, Jean, are you still with us?
Yes.
Go ahead and ask
Hello?
your question. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Mayor. I was concerned about the building that was developed that took that whole area where Randy's and all of that was at. At the beginning, when that was being sold to the community, it was presented as condominiums going up, and somewhere along the way, it turned into a rental property, and I felt that owners buy into the community, and renters are kind of transient, and I feel that it changed the tone of the village. And I was wondering, can we expect other buildings like that to be going up in Orland? And are these types of buildings in some way mandated by the government? Or, because I can't see, if you could answer, how is it good for the village?
Well, actually, it plays into what we have planned for the downtown mixed-use, pedestrian-friendly, metro-oriented development. We need people in there. Condos was talked about at one time, but that was in early stages. As we continually do studies with the experts, financial experts, marketing experts, retail experts, and residential experts, the idea of the need in the southwest suburbs and in Orland Park for high-end or luxury rentals was an obvious need there. That's a project that is 96% leased, and this, I understand your comment about a lot of apartments are thought to be somewhat transient, but these are luxury apartments where the lowest rent is about $1,500 a month. So this is something where people are pretty committed to this village as well as a homeowner. They're paying substantial amount of money there. But that is kind of and I'd like to think that there's a lot of areas that Orland Park has stayed on the cutting edge or looked at trends and tried to meet needs. So the idea of some of our residents, especially the younger people that work downtown, want to take the metro, don't have an interest in buying right now or don't have the money for a down payment, still want to live in the area. And I've talked to numerous people there that are very happy with where they're at. There's amenities in that building that really make it something unique. And if you follow some of the newspaper articles like I do and some of the different Crane Chicago, some of the different magazines, luxury apartments are very hot and are being built in numerous suburbs. I think this is a benefit to the village in a lot of ways because you need to provide different types of housing projects for the community to be successful. We have predominantly single-family homes, but we do have condominiums. We have townhomes. Now we can say and have provided luxury apartment buildings. So all of those play into making the community successful. In terms of other buildings like this, the downtown development, as far as I'm concerned, and the village board has talked before, this was the only luxury apartment rental complex in this downtown development. Other possible residential components in the downtown could be condos on a second or a third or a fourth floor of retail buildings. And then there's that small triangle of property on 143rd Street just west of the 9750 building that we will be sending out RFPs looking for local developers to come up with a design for potential townhomes in there. So we're looking for different types of housing stock, not only in the Triangle development, but also in the village as a whole.
Okay. So Dan, we've had a pretty interesting question about Costco and are we going to extend Ravinia? So let's shift and talk a little bit about that because we've been very successful in Orland over the years with getting economic development. A lot of the major retailers want to be in Orland for a lot of reasons, so they see it's a great community to develop in. So the question, if we can, I'm trying to scroll through to find it. Let me see.
I would say I appreciate everybody being part of this and hanging on the line. We're trying to get the questions as fast as we can.
Yeah, just a quick note. I mean, if we don't get to everybody, certainly leave the message to make sure that we can pull this in. So Dan, hang on, Margie. We have a question there about Terry's. So Dan, the property, now that we've got the University of Chicago going, there's a property about what's going on with Petey's Market and the old Terry site. So, Robert, are you still on the call line with us?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead with your question.
My question was if there's still plans in place for Pete's Market on the corner there, 143rd and John Humphrey.
Well, the only thing I can tell you about that is Pete's bought that from Terry's and came to our staff with plans to do a Pete's Market. Shortly after, around the same time, Mariano's came in with a plan for their project. They happened to go through the system faster for a lot of reasons, so they were approved. Pete's kind of put their project on hold, so I haven't talked to them lately. I can't say that they have completely walked away from that idea, but they still own the property. So I would say, from my understanding with our staff talking to people from Pete's, is that they are looking at different types of development in there that may include some form. I don't want to speak for Pete's, but different options were brought up. So Pete still owns the property. Our staff is trying to work with them to develop the property into something that will be good for both parties.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thanks for doing this. So I'm going to give the results for the poll, and there's a few other questions we've got that center on traffic and public safety. So in terms of the polling results, the question was, how would you rate the services from Orland Park? And in terms of the percentages, excellent was 50% of the votes, which obviously is good news for all of us, and we certainly appreciate the input. Good was 37%, fair was 9%, and poor was 4%. So we want to hear it all, and we appreciate the feedback. So we've had some questions, Dan, about police and how many police officers do we have in place. So do you want to touch? It seems that the questions we're getting, Dan, are mostly around traffic, a little bit on economic development, but also sort of like police.
Yeah, can I go off the topic for just a second?
Yeah, go for it.
You mentioned earlier that there was a question. I don't know where it went about the Ravinia continuing past Costco. Just real quick, the plans are for Ravinia that you have access to Costco now. That will continue and turn back east and meet up at LaGrange Road. So it will serve a whole area that's to be developed in the future, but it also gives another option around the 159th and LaGrange Road intersection. So that is in the plan. So in terms of police, we have about 95 or 96 sworn officers. With the command and sergeants and all the rest of them, over 100 police officers in our department. So it's a substantial department. But I will say, because we're a retail center, we have a lot more traffic and we have other issues to deal with. So that's something that we.
And the sales tax is what funds the property tax rebate.
For the most part.
And
so we have a substantial size police department, but I also think we have one of the best.
All right, so Dan, kind of shifting topics. We have a question around the ash trees and a removal program. So, Michael, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, go ahead.
My question is, I had our ash trees removed just coming up on a year ago, and they did replace the trees, but they never did get to grind out the stumps. Is there a time frame that all that's going to be taken care of, or?
Yeah, I will tell you that our first focus was to get the trees down that were dying because, as you can imagine, as they die and are susceptible to high winds and that blowing down, breaking, so it's a safety issue. So the first objective was to get the bad trees down, and there was over 8,000 trees. So 8,000 trees over a 3-year span is a substantial project. The remaining, the remaining stumps should be finished middle of next year. The middle of next summer, we should have the remaining trees replaced and stumps removed. So I wish we could do it faster, but boy, taking down 8,000 trees in 3 years was quite a project.
Well, okay, so I'll stop my harassing phone calls then. Very good.
Oh, you can keep them up. Keep us on our toes.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Thanks.
Okay, all right. So Dan, let's take one more question, and then we'll go to our closing poll. So this is around traffic in the construction zones, and we sort of, we touched on that as we go through this. So Roberta, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead with your question.
Every time I'm driving down LaGrange Road and mainly heading towards Sandburg, people are speeding past me and there's construction workers there. I work for the Teamsters, and those are my construction guys out there. Those are my members. And I know if you hit a worker, I mean, it's tragic. And I don't see very much police presence. People are speeding past me. They're pulling in front of me, and, I'm doing 35 miles an hour trying to protect the working man. And I was wondering if there's a chance that we could see more police presence.
Well,
and maybe do something to these drivers who are doing 50 and 60 miles an hour in the 35-mile-an-hour construction zone.
Yeah, I will tell you that I'm not sure how many people on the call know this, but myself and the village board are part-time officials, so we actually have jobs elsewhere, and I drive that Range Road in the morning every morning as I go up to my office on the north side in northwest suburbs. So I know what you're talking about. It is a common request. I will tell you, the police, they might not be out there all the time where you'd see them. They certainly are out there a lot, though. And I know in the last year and a half of this LaGrange Road project, over 4,500 tickets have been written. So I know they're out there. They're writing tickets. And then there are times, too, where we have them out directing traffic. When there's a lane closure that maybe we feel is going to add some problems, we'll get somebody out there directing traffic. We certainly have people out at certain intersections directing traffic during the Christmas shopping as well. But over 4,500 tickets have been written during this year and a half LaGrange Road project so far. So I know they're out there. We'll do the best we can.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, thanks for calling in. So we'd like to do. We're getting close to the original schedule. So again, we can't begin to thank everybody enough for what you've done by joining us. So thank you. So we want to ask our final question and have just a couple of closing comments. So this is the first time we've done this. We've had great response. There's well over 2,300 people on the call, so thank you for that. We got a lot of questions we can't get to. We will answer every question that was called in, so please make sure we get those.
But they have to leave a message.
You got to leave a message so we can get back to you. We want to make sure that this is a two-way dialogue. So the last question we'd like to ask is pretty straightforward, which is, we want to keep doing this, and we'd like to know if you would continue to participate in some of these as we have these village call-in meetings. So if the answer is yes, please press 1. If you're not likely to participate, press 2. So again, if you think you would like to participate in more of these going forward, press 1. If you would not likely participate, press 2. So while everyone is casting their vote, so to speak, Dan, we had another comment, so we'll close on that one. So, Mary Hughes, are you still with us on the call?
Thank you. And as a resident in my home and attempting to beautify it, I am very concerned about the trees in my lawn property. They are very old, they are dying, and unfortunately they are not ash trees. They are larger than 24 inches. What can I do?
Are you referring to the parkway out near the street where it's a village tree, or is it on your property?
It's parkway trees.
And if it's dying, the village should take it down. You may not want to leave an address over the phone. If we can get an address from you at the end, if you can stay on and leave an address, we'll send somebody to check it. But they usually are doing a pretty good job of
I have called in the past, but it's a very older subdivision that's, kind of not paid attention to, which I understand. But this conference has been so incredible. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome on that. I don't like the idea that any of us don't pay attention to older subdivisions any different than we would newer subdivisions. So, but I would like to get on top of that, the tree issue you're bringing up, because that's something we want to stay on top of.
Okay, all right. So Dan, we're just all right. So one more, just to kind of report out how we've done with the poll. So again, thank you. Right. So when we first started to talk about doing this, we weren't quite sure what everybody would think and what kind of dialogue we could have. But we've been absolutely thrilled with everybody's responsiveness and the questions. And please keep the questions coming. We will answer everything that we've heard tonight. And then just in terms of responsiveness, so for all the folks who joined, 98% are saying that they'd like to do more of these. So we will make sure that we, the village, stay committed to doing this and having some more calls. So Dan, any quick closing comments?
Well, I would just wrap up that we appreciate everybody's input and leave messages. I will get back to everybody at some point. I want to reiterate that we're pretty proud of the job we're doing here. We like the fact that only 7 cents of your property tax dollar is going to the village, and we will continue to rebate whatever taxes we can in the future. But I'm just kind of put a caveat out there. We still don't know what the state's going to do to solve their problems. If they put it on our backs, we're going to have to address how to handle that. And it's because tonight's main topic was LaGrange Road and road work. I just like to reiterate something I think is a pretty substantial number, that in the last 20 years we've done over $500 million in infrastructure, road projects, and facilities in Orland Park, so without any additional taxes. So, I mean, of course, it's a case of where it's a little uncomfortable patting ourselves on the back, but I think we've done a pretty good job, but we're always looking to improve the job we're doing, which is why we do things like this phone town hall meeting, so we get everybody's input on what's most important to them.
And we're certainly going to do more of these. And as a closing comment, if we didn't get to the questions or you have other things that pop to mind, officials at Orland Park, officials plural, at orlandpark.org, we'll make sure that we get those answers. So again, on behalf of Mayor McLaughlin, the entire village board, this is Trustee James Dodge. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Have a great night.